men. And today I wanted to talk about that. What does it mean to be a fisher of men? I thought how fitting that we live in the driest place on the planet, almost. It's an hour and a half if you want to go fishing, unless, you want to go to Southeast Park and catch the three-eyed whatever they have in there. But I've been here 11 years. I've met more people that have never been fishing than people that have actually been fishing. And I've met fewer people that have actually been fishing and actually caught a fish. So the whole concept of being fishers of men, sometimes that misses on us. We don't grasp what it is that Jesus is talking about. But I want to just throw some statistics. I've got in my old age, I like statistics. I didn't like it when I had to do that stuff in college, but now I love it because it's amazing. I just want you to think about this. 32% of the world's population is considered to be Christian. Only 32% is considered to be Christian. I would have assumed a higher number, wouldn't you? But we're talking about the world population. And to be sure, the United States is one of the top three. We're the home to more Christians than any other country in the world. And I just want to point this out. What we're talking about are those people that profess to be Christian. That means they've got the t-shirt, the bumper sticker, the tattoo, something that says I'm a Christian. I'm not even going to delve into the different levels. We talked about that last week. But listen to this. Roughly 7 in 10 Americans continue to identify with some branch of the Christian faith. But a new survey done by Pew Research Center of more than 35,000 Americans finds this. The percentage of adults 18 and older who describe themselves as Christians has dropped nearly 8 percentage points in just 7 years. From 78.4 down to 70.6. Over the same period, the percentage of Americans who are religiously unaffiliated, describing themselves as atheistic, agnostic, or nothing in particular, has jumped more than 6 points. You staying with me? The number of professing Christians is dropping at an alarming rate, and those that identify as agnostic, atheist, or nothing in particular is rising at the same rate that the number of professing Christians is going down. And the share of Americans who identify with non-Christian faiths, which would be all of the other isms and schisms and religions, has inched up 1.2% in the same period of time. So it's on the increase. Now, this is Father's Day, and I'm going to talk to men. And ladies, listen, this deals with you too. But I also found these statistics interesting. The typical U.S. congregation draws an adult crowd that's 61% female. Think about that. The average American congregation draws a group that is 61% female, 39% male. On any given Sunday, there are 13 million more adult women than men in America's churches. This Sunday, almost 25% of married church-going women will worship without their husband. Midweek activities draw 70 to 80% more female participants. The majority of church employees, except for ordained clergy, is overwhelmingly women. And over 70%, guys, this is where I want you to listen. Over 70% of the boys who are being raised in church will abandon it during their teens and 20s. Most will never return. 70% of young men that are raised in church will abandon it. The question is, why is Jesus saying, come follow me? We need to go fishing. Why is he saying, look out into the fields for they are white already unto harvest? Why is he saying to us as men in particular, but to all people, We need to get focused on the call at hand. You see, because there is a need. The world is full of folks that are lost in sin. We often forget that the world around us is filled with people that have no relationship with Jesus Christ. And if I believe the scriptures to be true, then the end result for all of these people that surround us is that at death, they will enter into torment. And the judgment will bring them into hell. And hell and death will be taken up and cast into a lake of fire according to the Word of God. If I believe that to be true, then I should be alarmed at the number of people. These percentages of what's happening in my own country and my own culture should say, wait, what's going on? Why are we dropping instead of gaining if we've been told to go and make disciples? Well, obviously, not much fishing happening, very little discipleship taking place. We find people all around us, and ourselves included, that are running their lives to exhaustion, chasing anything and everything to try to fill a hole, to fill the void. And nothing they try satisfies. We've talked about this on many occasions. You know, you find something and you get it in your brain, and maybe I'm the only one that does, is that I got to have this, I got to have whatever. It can be X, you fill in the blank. I got to have a car, a truck, a motorcycle, a shotgun, whatever, a job. And you feel that, and it just consumes you, and everything you do, you're pushing to get that, and you get it and you go, well, I want this. And you're running continuously trying to find something that gives purpose and meaning to our life. And I can't speak for the ladies because I'm 53 this coming week is my birthday. I'll be 53. I've tried. I cannot grasp the mind of a woman. It's beyond me. It's like God's ways are not my ways, His mind is not mine, and then women are right under God, and I don't understand. I don't. But guys, I know us. And we have an ego, whether we say we do or admit we do or not, but we all are egos walking around in man packages. And this ego says, I have to be the best. I have to have the best. I have to work the hardest. I have to do this. I have to prove my worth as a man. And the only way that we've been taught culturally to prove our worth as a man is to work the hardest, do the best, make the most, provide the biggest. That's the level we go. The problem is we can do all that, and at night when we sit down, we still feel exhausted and empty because nothing we're doing is changing anything. And we get up the next morning, and our ego slaps us in the face, and here we go again. That's why there are far more women actively involved in church, because men ain't got time for that. I got work to do. I got stuff to do. Responsibilities I got to take care of. And they leave church to the women. Take the kids and go to church. And the kids grow up, where's dad? Oh, dad's busy working. He's being a man. Son grows up, well, I want to be like dad. We understand what we're talking about? So Jesus looks at the disciples and says, there's a world out there that is lost and undone. They're chasing after things that cannot satisfy. They're trying to find answers to the questions that keep them up at night. And the world has no answers. It just throws more questions. And the more they run, the harder they go. The more they try, the more questions there are. And there's no satisfaction. And Jesus says, but we need to stop and go after them. Guys, why did He call us to be fishers of men? Because there's a need. A tremendous need. You know, one of the verses that puzzles me the most, and it's kind of like one of those that sits over in the corner, like and it just eats on you, is when Jesus said, broad is the way that leads to destruction, and many there be that find it, but narrow is the gate that leads to eternal life, and how many? Few. Few there be that find it. And I look at my community, I look at the community of Canyon, right here where we live. And the majority of people, according to what Jesus says, that you interact with, the people that you know, your neighbors, some of your family, the people that you work with, the majority of those folks are on a broad road leading to destruction. And I'm going to be real blunt and honest. Most of the people we know around us, most of the people we see, will end up in hell at the end of the road. Because few there be that find it. The narrow gate. That's kind of unnerving when you think about that, isn't it? And so I understand the passion with which Jesus looks at these guys, these fishermen guys. And he says, you come follow me. You come follow me. So that's the need. And I think too often we don't see the need. We just see people. And we don't really think about all that's in play. We don't recognize the spiritual needs of those around us, of those that we work with. We don't recognize that if they are not reached with the gospel of Jesus Christ, if I believe the Bible to be true, which I do, I've staked my entire life and my eternity on it, have you? If I believe that to be true, then those are the people that I should be going after. That's the command from God. Then we have the called, the workers, the fishers. Be fishers of men. What's that mean? Like I said, too often we look at it and we're so out of context with commercial fishermen making their living as fishermen. We're out here. Dude, if you were a commercial fisherman in the Panhandle, you would starve to death. We don't understand that concept. We're like, hey, in fact, I'm not going to say who it was that got to go fishing for Father's Day and all of the children caught fish and he blanked. So we understand the fishing in the Panhandle. But listen to this. Jesus was just calling fishermen. That's what they were. These were guys that were born and raised on the boats casting nets. They were fishing. He tied into something they understood, and he said, you know what you're good at, what your life has been about, what your gifts and your skills. Use this in the kingdom. We got a mechanic here today. I want you to think about this. Look at the world as a parking lot full of broken down cars. And you're a skilled mechanic. Jesus could have said, hey, look at all these broken down vehicles around here. Come follow me and be mechanics of men. If he's sitting in a room full of carpenters, hey, look at all of these houses in this town, all in disrepair. Windows falling out, doors, foundations broke. And he looked at him and said, hey, you guys are carpenters. Come follow me and be carpenters of men. Could have been a cowboy. Hey, dude, you got a wheat pasture full of cows, and they're all sick. Come follow me. Come doctor the sick. Be a cowboy. Do you understand what he's saying? He is saying that I am calling you who you are. I want you to be who you are and use the gifts and the skills that you have and use it with a greater purpose. Come and be fishers of men. Come and be mechanics of men, carpenters of men, teachers of men. It's endless. So often we think that doesn't apply to us because I'm not a fisherman and I don't understand the concept. But I know this. God said, I created you and I knew you when I formed you in the womb. And I knew what you would be and I knew what you would do and I knew what skills and what gifts you would have. And I want you to use those to bring people into the kingdom. So we got any carpenters of men, mechanics of men, teachers of men, cowboys of men, fishers of men. Jesus just looked at the guys and said, I know who you are. I know what you do. I'm going to turn it into something awesome. Come follow me. We are wonderfully and delightfully made. And God calls us to apply our life skills, whatever they are, to the kingdom. And that's just a small list of things that I thought of. I used to be a lineman. I spent 13 years climbing poles and building power lines. The tornado in the Ozarks will destroy power lines for days. And I thought about, we would roll up on the job, and I'm going to even tell a bigger story. What year was Whitney born? 87. Man, you're old. That year, there was an ice storm that went up through Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, up out of Springfield, and we went up there. And we worked, and we got there, and there was just poles broke off and lines down. and stuff. Well, the next year, there was a big ice storm that went through Arkansas. And they sent us and our crew to Arkansas to cross at Arkansas, and that's down in the pine farm country where all the paper mills are. And we get down there and we roll up into this co-op where the boss man comes out meeting our crew, and my foreman said, "Sir," said, "just tell him how bad is your damage, what all you got out." And he said, "We do not have 1 meter running on our whole system. Everything is out." When we looked at the devastation, and we looked, the houses were there, the wires were there, and the meters were there. All the pieces were there, but the main lines were broken in trees. And they took us out, and we looked at 3 miles of three-phase that, it's got 3 wires on top and and it's all laying on the ground. And I thought, golly, this is too big. I mean, everything is tore up. And so oftentimes we look at the world around us and the needs of the world, the spiritual needs of the world, and the lostness around us, and we go, man, I don't even know where to start. So we just sit there and we go, I don't know. What we do is we huddle up in the church house and we sing praise songs and hug each other and just hope that everything will be okay. Well, there's nothing wrong with singing praise songs and hugging and huddling, but we need to be huddling with a plan to go out there and get to work. Do you know how we repaired all the lines and crossed at Arkansas? 1 pole at a time. We started setting poles. Then we'd set another pole. We'd set another pole. Then we'd string wire. We'd hook up a transformer. We'd hook it to the main line. We'd get a meter on. And we just repeated the process. And that's what Jesus is saying. When I call you to be fishers of men, I'm saying, you're not going to win the whole world, but start with one and work with that one and get the next one and get the next one and keep building. And think about this. As we began getting lines on, other crews were coming behind us getting more lines on because we got main power supplied. Now they could get the secondary. And it spread. That's really how it works in the kingdom of heaven. Jesus says, I'm calling you to be workers. I'm calling you to be who you are and to do what you do. But do it in the kingdom with the goal of bringing men and women into the kingdom. As we look at the culture that we live in, the world that we live in, we look at where the church is at. And I want to say this. There's a lot of people that gripe about the church and what the church has fallen into and how it's just become all of this. Well, I'm going to tell you something. Jesus Christ died for the church. I'm a fan of the church. There's a lot more good in the church than there is negative. There's a lot of good in the church. And if you were able to be with the Graham family here yesterday as our church family came together to feed and take care of this family during a very difficult time, I was reminded again, there's a lot more good about the church than there is bad about the church. And I'm proud to be a part of it. And I've been commissioned by the Lord to increase the kingdom and to build the church. And Jesus said that he would build his church, right? And he said, if we'll just do the work, if we'll be fishers, if we'll be carpenters, if we'll be mechanics, if we'll do those things, he said, listen, guys, I'm not asking you to do what you can't do. I'm saying you work. I'll build the church, Jesus says. I'll build the church. You just be involved in the process. But let me ask you a question. Do you feel competent, prepared, and ready to talk to somebody about their spiritual need? If your neighbor walks up, knocks on your door and says, hey, Terry, I'm afraid I'm going to hell. Can you tell me how to be saved? Do you know what to do? Can you explain that? Do you understand that? If not, why? You say I haven't been trained. Wait a minute. There's really something in this passage that we often overlook. Jesus says, come follow me. First, come. Second, follow. And I will make you to become. Not you will make you to become. Not if you just work hard enough, you'll be really successful. He says, I will make you. The power behind our success in the kingdom of heaven is all rooted in Jesus Christ. In his power, in his ability. Who's the greatest teacher of all time? Jesus Christ. What does he say? Follow me. I will make you. I will do it. I think too often, and I've seen it happen in my own life, in my ministry, I get so wrapped around the axle trying to make stuff happen and make the church great and push agendas and do things that I get ahead of Jesus and he's like, really, dude, just wait. And I won't wait. Because I think I know the Bible. I've read the Bible. I know what I'm doing. I've read tons of books on church growth. He says, it's not about that. You come follow me and let me teach you what it means to be a fisher. So the training. He will make us to become. But what do we have to do? First, be teachable. You know why most people can't learn? They're not teachable. One of the problems that we have, particularly men, here we go again, I'm beating up on us today. Happy Father's Day. Love you. One of the problems men have is that the ego I was talking about earlier says, I know as much as you do. I'm as good at it as you are. In fact, I know more than you do. So why are you trying to tell me what to do? That's man ego. And boy, is it ugly. He says you got to be teachable. He told the disciples, come follow me and I'll make you. What that means is I'll teach you, but you got to let me teach you. Because these guys know nothing about people. I do know this. I've never been around commercial fishermen, but I've been around professional construction workers. They're not people persons. People skills are really lacking. Peter would prove, if you read through the scriptures, Peter was really short on people skills. Peter just got mad and wanted to cut your head off. And I will say this, as a minister, there have been times, please God forgive me, but there have been times that I've wanted to just rip people's head off and spit down the hole. Just saying. I'm just saying, because the ego gets in the way and they won't learn. Jesus says, you will never be a fisher of men unless you let me teach you. You need to be teachable. We have to be teachable. That means he's the master. I'm not. He knows what he's doing. I don't. Even if I have tremendous skills and I've worked hard and I've studied and I've learned and I've done this for years, it does not mean that I'm an expert. It means Jesus is the expert. And I have to be teachable. You know what I have found out? Everything I know, somebody else knows more about it. Everything I know, there's somebody else that's better. Everything I can do, somebody is better than me. Thank the Lord. Because if we had to depend on Jeff's skill level, this would be an ugly place. But our ego says, no, I'm not going to learn. And you know who teaches us? You know who Jesus uses to teach us? All kinds of people. All kinds of life situations. People that know nothing about what you do, and they teach you stuff. I learn more from children than from anybody else. Do you? You ever watch kids? Kids are very intelligent. I've learned a few things from dogs. Now, I'm not even going to go there, but I'm just saying, we can learn, but we'll never learn to be fishers of men or mechanics of men or carpenters of men or you fill in the blank. We'll never learn if we refuse to be teachable. When I first became a missionary in Mexico, whatever that means, we ran for 6.5 years wide open as hard as we could go, taking 25 mission teams a year, building churches, doing all kinds of stuff. I was in Mexico more than I was in America. And I learned a lot from them. But I went down there and it was kind of just thrown on me. The man that I went to assist in the mission field got a brain tumor and died like months in, and here we are. Okay, wow, thank you, Jesus. Now this is all ours. And I felt tremendous pressure and responsibility to make right decisions and do right things. And I learned very quickly that I am incapable of always making the right decision. I am incapable of being able to understand all that's going on. And I have to depend upon the Lord's leadership. And He will use all kinds of people, all kinds of situations to teach me. But I have to be teachable. Secondly, I have to be willing. You know, there's a lot of really good people that have a lot of tremendous skills and abilities, but they're just simply not willing to involve it in the kingdom of heaven. Do you know why? Because ministry is hard. Being all in the kingdom of heaven and working in the kingdom of heaven, doing ministry, at whatever level you're doing ministry. We talked about that last week, whether it's an individual in your family. You know why dads, here we go, you know why dads don't do devotions with their kids? Because it's hard. You know why dads don't set the example at home as a godly man and the spiritual leader of the household? It's hard work. And we work hard. We come in bone dog tired, stressed out, wore out, and we just say, let mom take care of that. We have to be willing. Secondly, willing is a lifetime commitment. Do you know what Jesus' retirement plan for workers in the kingdom of heaven is? Heaven. And that is the retirement plan. It says, work while it is day, because the night cometh when no man shall work. When do we stop working? When do we stop learning? When do we stop training? When do we stop doing fishing, carpentry? I can't win when we die. You see, it's hard work to work in the kingdom. And it's a lifetime commitment. I was a youth pastor in Tennessee while I was going to Bible college. That's where God revealed to me that I do not have a calling into youth ministry. Some do, I don't. I had a teen class, about 13, 14 teenagers. And one of the problems I always had was finding someone that would take that class. And I was there 4 years at that school, at that church. Over the 4 years, I had 7 different teen teachers. And I remember the last time I had hair, now I don't have hair. Lady came to me. I was a little bit leery anyway, but she came, she said, I just feel a burden in my heart. God has just moved on me that I need to work with the teens. They need stability. I mean, you can't grow a youth group and you can't put any kind of foundation around if you've got a revolving teacher coming in and out of that class, and they never know. Because what that says is nobody loves us enough to stay. She said, but I've got this burden in my heart, and I've prayed about it, and I've sought the Lord, and I'm convinced that this is my calling. Will you let me take the teens? I said, I'll pray about it. I prayed about it. And I said, okay. Nobody else shows up. Okay, so I give her the class. 3 weeks in, she calls me and says, I believe that God has done all he wants me to do here. I believe I have accomplished that which God called me to do. That's one of those that I wanted to rip their head off and spit down the hole. Commitment. Commitment means that we continue when it's painful, and we continue when it seems like we're not making any headway, and we continue to do the work of the Lord. We continue in ministry even when we're exhausted and we're tired and we feel like we're burned out. I don't believe in Christian burnout. I don't believe in that. I don't think you can burn out. I think you just give up. That's just Jeff's opinion. I think you just give up. I think too often you say, well, I feel as though the Lord has moved me. Really what that means is I really don't want to stretch myself anymore. Most of the time. I do think God moves people. I'm not saying that. That's a legitimate. In Baptist, the average pastoral term is 18 months. It means the average across all of the Baptist faith is that a pastor only stays at a church for 18 months and then he moves. How much can you accomplish in 18 months? Not a lot. I mean, you got the whole honeymoon period where everybody loves everybody and it's all awesome for about 4 or 5 months. Then you have a deacon's meeting, and then it's not awesome. Or board meeting, business meeting. Then somebody does this, and so what that says is at 18 months, a man says, I'm not going to stretch myself. I've done all I am to do. I want to go somewhere, preach my set of sermons, do my little deal. When I'm done with that, then I'm going to move somewhere else. And I'm going to do that. When I'm done with that, then I'm going to move somewhere else. And the commitment to stay and work and dig and scratch and grit and bleed and cry and weep and see Jesus train us into what he wants us to be never is given an opportunity. And that happens in churches. People come to church, everything's good for a while, then something they don't like happens, and then they begin feeling this, and they withdraw themselves, and they're gone. And what that says is, I'm not willing to let the Lord train me. Most of the time. There are legitimate reasons for transferring churches. I totally understand that. I am not discounting that at all. But the thing that we dislike the most is the training process of becoming fishers, workers. We're not willing. Thirdly, we have to be open. What do you mean be open? I mean, we have to be open to everybody out there. One thing, I did grow up fishing. I grew up on 11 Point River in Missouri. And I took my grandson up there last summer. I took him fishing in my old favorite fishing holes. So I understand the concept of fishing. You have to be open. What does this mean? It means that I can go bass fishing. And we used to go to the lake and we go bass fishing. And I've regaled to you the accounts of all of my fishing equipment, the boats, the tackle, the thousands and thousands of dollars of Bass Pro stuff. And I would go over there and I read all the fish reports and took the temperature of the water, checked the color of the water, make sure this is what I'm supposed to use, and I tie it on, flip it out there, and nada. And I could say, wait a minute, according to all the experts, with this color of water, with this temperature, with this dew pressure, with all of this, this must catch fish. And I could beat the water till I was wore out and not catch a fish. But this is the right way. All of the signs say this is the right way. The only sign that says it's not the right way is the fish ain't biting. And we can get locked into our ministry model and how we're going to do things. And this is the way it's supposed to be. And yes, Terry, we've never done it that way before. Ugh. We get locked into what we think is the right way, what we think needs to happen, how our ministries need to look, how our teaching needs to look, what our church needs, and we look at it, and we are not open to the call of God and the moving of people and the Holy Spirit. Just because I've got a really cool plan doesn't mean it's going to catch fish. Even if I've studied and I know the water color, the water temperature, I know all that, I've got it all dialed in. If I'm not catching fish, I've got to be open to change. You know what will catch fish? A crank telephone. But I don't want to be that open. If you don't understand, nobody, that went over so many heads. No crank telephone, all it is a generator. You take 2 leads, throw it in the water, start cranking that, and fish just float to the top. I know that by experience. But I got to be open. I've got to be open to the people that I'm reaching are coming at me from different perspectives. They have different worldviews, different life experience. Too often we just expect them to already know the answers and just be in rebellion. The problem is most of them don't know the answers. They don't even know the questions. The life experience they have. And I have to be open to reach this person with the gospel at this level, and this person at this level, and this person up here. And my ministry has to be willing to adjust at all times. Because fishing changes. I'm going to finish this cough drop. All better. On one particular occasion, me and my wife and children were on my boat. We were at Bull Shoals Lake, and it was topwater season. I love topwater season. If you ever get to fish topwater, it's the most amazing. Buzz baits on the top, bass come up. It's awesome. Just blood rush, you know. And so I'm out there. We pull into this calm area back off the main lake into this arm, and I drop the trolling motor, and I tell the kids, "Now you just be real quiet. Be quiet." Drop the trolling motor. Got my buzz bait on. I'm pumped. I'm ready. I'm sitting there. I hear Whitney lean over to listen and say, "Be very, very quiet. We're hunting rabbits." Seriously. So I said, just be quiet. So I ease up in there and I flip the buzz bait. And I'm just beating a hole in that water. True story. My children have this ugly, stupid little old Snoopy rod that I have put the most cheap, worthless lure on because they could lose them by the dozens and I don't care. And I'm watching and I'm buzz baiting. I've got everything right. You know who's catching fish? And Whitney pulls up a turtle. How do you do that? We get so ministry focused and we get our mindset of how things are supposed to be and how people are supposed to respond and how people are supposed to act that we get so grilled into the fishing, we forget about the fish. We get so grilled into church and my ministry or your ministry or this ministry and this is how we're going to do it that we don't notice the fish are swimming away. Got to be open. Open to change. Open to listen. Open to try different things. If what I'm doing is not working, like a really wise man used to say, if the horse is dead, by all means dismount. If what we're doing is not working, if people are going away instead of coming in, we're doing something wrong. Be willing and open to reach fish because it's about them. It's not about us. It's about their souls, not about our programs. He said, come follow me and let me teach you how to do this. And we have to be honest. I can't learn if I'm not honest. I learned that in Bible college. Honestly, when I got to Bible college, as I've told many of you, it was a life-changing experience. I got out of the vehicle, walked on campus, looked around, asked where the shop was. They didn't have one. I went, oh no. I'm used to welding, carpentry, mechanicking. You mean this is like books and book reports and research paper stuff? Really? And so I get there and I'm just so out of my element. But I'm the old guy. I'm 31. Everybody else is 18. Surround yourself with 18-year-olds when you're 31. Oh, Lord. And I tried and I felt like I had a higher responsibility to be excellent and to do and to set an example, right? And do everything right. And I'm trying and I'm crashing and burning. And I'm taking ancient history. I love history. I think surely I can do this. I get into ancient history and he starts talking about people I didn't know even existed. And times and dates and world events and I'm crashing. And so I go into Mr. Carter's office and I say, Mr. Carter, I really am embarrassed. I have no idea what you're talking about. And I don't know what to do. I had to be honest and say, I don't know it all. I don't know. You know what the hardest thing for a man to say is? I don't know. We got to have an answer. We got to have an answer. To simply say, I absolutely have no idea, is hard for a guy to do, particularly when there's a problem before him. Mr. Carter said, I'll tell you what your problem is. You have no clue how to take notes. Let me see your notes. And I gave him, and it was like flipping pages. He says, what are you doing? I said, I'm taking notes. He said, no, you're not. He said, has anyone ever explained to you the concept of outlining? I reckon not. So do you know what he did? He took an entire hour, took his lecture from that day, read through his lecture, explained to me how to outline notes. Listen for key points, make an outline. Listen, make an outline. Listen, make an outline. He took an hour of his own time in his office. You know what that did? Transformed my career as a student. I aced ancient history. Loved it. But I had to be willing to say, I don't know. I'm in over my head. I got to be honest. I don't know what to do. Will you help me? Jesus says, I don't expect you to be top-notch fisherman. I expect you to let me teach you. I expect you to use the skills and the person that you are and let me mold that into what I want it to be. I want you to be teachable, moldable. Listen. I want you to be willing to commit. Back to the statistics, and I'm going to roll real fast. I did my own statistical thing about 7-8 years ago when we were starting the church. Well, I guess that's 10 years ago now, isn't it? Wow. And I asked, because we have a bunch of college kids. That's who, you offer free food at your house. College kids just, they come. And we were feeding these kids. And I kind of did a little bit of statistics. And I said, how many of y'all are members of a church? Like you've been saved, baptized, and you're active member of a church. My children were it. I said, well, why? They said, well, because we don't want to commit, because we might find the church we like better. I said, so what's your thoughts on marriage? They said, don't want to go there. Why? Do you have a person that you've been dating for 2 years, 3 years? Why are you not thinking marriage? Same reason. Commitment. I don't want to make a commitment that I can't get out of because somebody else might come along I like better. You know what the biggest problem with the world of fish that we're trying to gather? They don't understand commitment. Do you know what Jesus said about commitment? I either want it all or none. You give me your all or none. No man that puts his hand to the plow and begins is fit for the kingdom if he turns away and walks. Jesus said you must take up your cross every day and follow me. It means I don't want 50% of you. I don't want 60% of you. I don't want 70% of you. I've asked this question 1,000 times. I'll ask it again. How many of y'all be really excited about having a spouse that was 90% committed to you alone? Jesus said, I need commitment because the work is great. And it's exhausting. And it's trying. But it's so worth it. It's so worth it. I don't know where you're at in life today. I don't know. From last week, you may be the first one that's hearing the call of salvation for the first time, and you're actually listening. And I want to encourage you today that if the call coming to you today is not be religious and not use your church affiliation or your grandmother's awesome Sunday school that she used to teach or your vacation Bible school or camp experience. Lay all that aside and answer this question. Are you surrendered to the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ? Are you trusting in Him and His death, burial, and resurrection for your righteousness? Because that's what being a Christian is. It says, I'm casting all other options aside and I'm putting it all on Jesus. And if what He did is not sufficient to pay my sin debt, then I'm toast. Because there are no reserves. There's nothing else. It's all or nothing on Jesus. Maybe that's the call you're hearing today. And He's saying, come and follow me. But maybe today you are being called out to be a fisher, a mechanic, a truck driver, a teacher, a carpenter. He said, you've got all these life skills. I just want you to use them. Come follow me and be a fisher of men. And you may have jumped excited about that till the training started. Oh. How many of you ever wanted to just jump in the truck and drive when you were a kid? There's a learning curve. Particularly in Missouri. There's a lot of learning curves. And that's what we don't like. We often reject the learning curve of becoming a servant of God. So wherever you are in that today, the call still goes out. In this particular passage, he looks at 4 men that are professional fishermen, and he said, hey, you come follow me, and I'll make you fishers. I will make you to become. I will do the work. You be willing. I'll make you to be fishers of men. That call still goes out today. Wherever you are, whatever you do, whatever your life skill, he's calling to you and saying, hey, come follow me, and I will make you of men. Will you answer the call? Will you heed? Will you get up and follow? That's what's amazing. They heard it and they went, okay. And they followed. I'm grateful today that the call of God still goes. May we receive it